파디 추두 나와다를 되는 내와 이나 파다와다 출다와 나시전에 되는 내와 이나 아니 응아디 아니 로텔라 말레바기 제메장 임바디 아니 티레스 저와메 봐 임바디 마테다 로디니오데 제메테션 임바
So here then that last sentence that I was struggling with, the translator. Here it says then that without interrupting that the I, which is merely thought of when one thinks I, in dependence upon the aggregates, and so this is here referring again to one's mind is examining the I, looking for the I. And so that mind, which is searching for the I, looking here and there, and then if it finds the genuine I, the actual I, and it has to identify that without mixing it together with some other phenomenon that is not that I, such as the aggregates and so forth. And then when that I, the genuine I, appears to that mind which is searching for it as an object, but it arises in dependence upon the aggregates, then without stopping that immediately, then one should hold that, the aspect of that, the way it is appearing to that mind within one's mind, and then after that, then one thinks that one has gained an exact determination of that I and the locus where one to which one applies the term I, and that which is what one thinks of when one finds the I, then and one thinks that is this I, and then that I that is appearing as if it was the intrinsically existing I, which is what ordinarily appears to us without any kind of investigation, then that's the identification of the object of negation. And if not the yuna, tokpe wangi shak mayimpi yupatang.
The Tatin Taler, Tangadi Tobi Wangi Shaba Mayimbi Yobatang. 가장 외신 바인데 또비왕기 샤바 마인비 여바데 가자지르와 다된자는 예바데 다자지르와 가지 차초시.
So then if such an I existed, then it would have to exist such that it doesn't depend upon being set forth or posited by the force of thought. It would be, and thus one has arrived at the criterion of the object of negation, the literally measure of the object of negation, which would be that if such an I existed, it would be something that one would find when one seeks for it within its basis of designation.
That's right.
No.
아니 파타 추디추도 나와다를 되는 내와 인장 아니 대화 매봐. 대화 로텔라 말레바. 나한테 같이 나한테 로텔라 말레비 개매장 대가 인스.
나한테 로테니
같이 나한테와 나한테 세테.
수도 나왔다. So here that I and the thought which is found it or is seeing it, it's appearing to it as in that aspect that we've mentioned previously. If it actually existed in the way that it appears when one has sought it in that way, to the extent that one has looked for it all over the place, if it actually existed in that way, then that I would not be such that it would depend upon the cognition there that has been searching for it. They would be unrelated things they'd be other, that is the I and that's appearing, and the cognition which has found it would be unrelated things which have that are other, intrinsically other than one another.
Oh yeah, tendering ngadi xianla ra maleba te da sijabi trevina ko ka ane ka ta ngo sundi samba. Oh, tendering ngadi xianla ra maleba teni lo tele sa xianla ra maleba teni sijabi trevale tela da che chawani kanshi ngo namji xianla ra malebi ngo ra xinde ste ka ching hati che. 대다 가사라 소와기 아니 등도 매바데 가사 그 다음에 뭐 대신도 풍비 등도 매바데 아니 처지 다음에 봐.
So then, this is explained, mentioned also in the commentary on the 400, where it says that with respect to the so-called self, it is that which it has it's that which has a nature such that a nature which has the character of not being dependent upon other things. And the absence of that, non-existence of that, is selflessness. So here then, when one is talking about it in terms of the selflessness of the person, the absence of that kind of nature of the self, that is having a character which is not dependent upon things other than itself, is here then something having the character which is not dependent upon other things is the object of negation. And with respect to the person, then if a person had a nature which was a character that had the kind of character that such that it doesn't depend upon anything other than itself, then it would be intrinsically existent or autonomously existent, and since it doesn't have that, then it's devoid of that kind of self. So that's the absence of that object of negation. Then is the selflessness of the person.
다음에 봐. 대신도 최 참자 라양 아니 랑아랑 그 다시 뒤등도 아니 도배왕 그 샤바 많이 비교받당 다든 전에 비 아니 예받당 아니 가서 진짜디 현라라 말라바기 아니 가자 텐더래 차두요래.
So this applies to all phenomena likewise. That is, here, when one thinks that phenomena, or when one has the misconception that phenomena exist by means of their own intrinsic nature, one imagines that they have that kind of character, which is not, they don't depend on things outside of themselves, things that are other than themselves. Or one can say that they don't exist. One thinks that they exist autonomously, that they exist such that when one searches for them within their bases of designation, that they're findable. And la kendi sukasa shenla rama lebi ngo.
Shenla rama lebadang, tobe kasore tabata mai biyoba, right?
So they exist.
So then,
so that sort of three ways of talking about the criterion of the object of negation, which is that one would be that it something that that exists such that it doesn't depend upon things outside of itself. That's one, and then, or that it's not merely designated by thought, second. And then another way of talking about this would be that if you'd find it, if you searched for it within its basis of designation.
Oh yeah, then that anangaranzola namiki, but any che dizo kasadang, kasab pumbola so che dizo rang, kasadan trevi, kachi nanzo jimendo meba inzang, ani. 아니 컨디션랑 안에 가서 가야기 임바데 못 쳐봤지. 고그래서 다 태양랑자라 다단남민 디조랑 아니 임바 가자 임바 못쳐비 녀와 나냐 마치비 파도 안에 따바데 같이 와래 선에 어디 장자가 송하나 신천이 랑기 랑라 왕시 랑기 빌라든다 난저기 풍보당 알아서 마가바체 대마인 바퀴 가자지 로아가야 말했어 나와 릴린데 라수샤네 가주라젠지 초안한테 송한테 어때는 집어대 송한테
같이
아란조라 다자 나와기 다다 풍보라서 왔나야 돼 같이 나도 다가라 말면 매와이자 대라라 가자래.
So then thus all of these things that are appearing to us, all phenomena, self, the other phenomena outside of the self, all appear in that way, as if in such that they're mixed together with the object of negation, the appearance of things as existing by means of their own intrinsic nature and so forth. So that being the case, then all of these appearances, these phenomena that are appearing to us are actually the object of negation. For us that are under the control of this misapprehension of the way things exist. So that being the case, then all of this that is appearing to us, these phenomena are for us things until we're able to give rise to an internal experience of that which is being introduced here itself, then it's important that we engage in this kind of examination and investigation. This has also been stated by the great master Jamyang Shepa, where he said that for us who are under the control of this kind of misapprehension of the way things exist, then even all the aggregates, the self, etc., are the object of negation.
Oh yeah, that didn't any 가소래 다지 가자 만노와 뭐시나 아니 원에 주 누르야 세지 젠장기 눈이 찍라양 눈다를 빠찍라양 아니 가자데 때문에도 집이 누가 삼지 미저가 여바데 아니 랑게 뇌베스 그래 랑게 뇌베 아니 현도 아니 가자 대응의 순준 대来현지 7점 현도 7점 최장这把买미니비기 아니 대바 시에전부 덤네 아니 저 중국어 진보 진주 천대지 연구를 했습니다.
So until we identify that object of negation without any kind of error, when we do identify that object of negation without any error, then all of the reasonings that are explained, each individual reasoning, as well as the scriptures and so forth, which will be given below, that follow the tradition of Master Nagarjuna together with his spiritual sons, and that all of those we have to gain a kind of a definite ascertainment that all of these are possess an inconceivable ability to be able to completely eradicate that this object of negation, to totally eliminate it. And once we have that kind of ascertainment, then it doesn't matter who else. Once we have that ascertainment, then it doesn't matter who else tries to lead us in some other direction. They won't be able to lead us at all in that direction. So once we obtain that kind of extremely stable, powerful confidence and faith in this, understanding of this, then when we have that, we are actual true followers of Lord Tsongkhapa, Gyalwa Tsongkhapa.
Oh yeah. 팀이 시점开질 체양에서 가나 가자 만호왕 왜 무슨바 아니 시점开질 체양 네 고반남 先国把行动算第一个就가자 고반남 아니 先国把行动算呢중사 삼장 랑 로준지 아니 리바티나 네도 마수베스 리바티나 랑기 로이 쩐지 리바티나 아니 다고발라 네도 마수 지단 타데그 리바티다 다고바 리바 지단 타데기 아니 직투자당 지단 타대기다 직투자가 리바테나 중국 로진지 리바테는 내도 마수배 배나 라신지 주비 직당 타대야 라신지 주비 직이나 타대 때문에 지직인 거 와다 라신지 주비 타대인 마 타대라 안에 때문에 텐션이 이와매 봐다 막아 땅그 와라 저 때문에 내가 그 냠네 타다 숨바나 탐주위 루지 탐주와 랑그 춥디 졸루레 세네 루루 젠장지 딘주 고민이시수 우주창 우주당 아예체와 까와다보 통일체스 하고서
So if we don't do it like that, then however educated in this we become, then all of these negations that are going to be explained subsequently, all of the reasonings that are employed to negate this object of negation, they'll go in another direction. And however much one thinks about them, because of the defects of one's own intellect, all of these reasonings won't penetrate into the essential point here. For example, when you hear that things are not established as intrinsically as unitary or different, one will come to the misconception that that entails that there's that nothing at all exists whatsoever. That when one hears that something doesn't exist intrinsically identical with its basis of designation, or it's not intrinsically other than the basis of designation, then one comes to the misconception that that entails that it's entirely non-existent, and or that when one comes to the idea that it's completely unrelated, that the basis of designation and the thing that's designated are completely unrelated. So someone might think, well, how can one understand that? How is one supposed to understand that? And then hearing these things that have been instructed in that way, these teachings, they'll think that they're actually following that this is the actual way in which the Prasangika presents its own philosophical system in that way, and but not being able to actually negate things being real in accordance to the way that they're taught by Master Nagarjuna and his followers. Then it's just, there's a huge danger that one will simply be doing this negation out of trying to force some kind of negation, or just thinking that one is doing it out of some kind of domination, something like that. So there's a big danger that that could occur.
Oh yeah, that I think Randela Sumba Nashireshata, Tenang until Henji Jimmy Bani. Henji Gimmy Bangantin, Henji Gimmy Batin, Atamche. Ani Atamdam. Ani I was in Bichita, Atam Jing, and Anzin Jitata, Marzi Bichita, I was in Bichitani or in Bata. Marzi Bichita, Anzin Henji, Marzi Bichita, Henji, Anzin Henjeta. I was in Bichita, Henjeta, I was in Bichita, Henji Sigurwa. Ngatam manzil henji ji mi ba ngai ngatam da ngai wa zi bi ji di mi ba yang ngai wa zam yin se ga la ngai yu chen xi mi so mi ba yu tuan ba re ngai wa zam yin tang bi mi ba ngatam ji mi ba la phung bo la mi ba da wo ji yong gu yu wa re de phung bo la mi ba ma re ga yan se la ngai la phung bo ju chen ne ani jie wa yin zang 아니 고 풍부라 미버나 미버다 와긴 가차리 차르고 와레스 뭐 풍부라 미버다 보요 아니 풍부 규찬에 기베 다인 yeah.
So thus therefore when we speak about the observed object of the innate form of this misapprehension of the I, this is the mere I alone. And then as far as the observed object of the misapprehension of here it's referring to the misapprehension, the wrong view of the disintegrating collection. Here it's that the observed object of that is that apprehends mine, the mine. So the observed object of that view of the disintegrating collection is the mere mind, And so the first of these, however, it is the case that with respect to the first of these, that is the innate or natural form of the misapprehension of the I, that the first of these, since it comes about through an initial observation of the aggregates, then it arises sort of with the aggregates as their cause, and so there's sort of like the aggregates are functioning as the cause for that arising.
我也提醒对呀，俺那我有我准备记得提讲，我有我了没把得不，得不样是，我以为没把得不这样是，俺那看着来是呢，我有我准备记得这样，我也没那说了没把得不样，我也没那说了没个嘛来是，看着来是呢，俺那没说太大，打给我汤呢，我也没说太大，打给我汤呢，俺那人打给我，那么多，俺那打给我汤呢。 아니 당연히 다기고 냠도 다기와라 아니 다기와 translate 추가집이 인증받기 기고래스 right.
And then likewise with the second one, that is the innate form of this wrong view of the disintegrating collection, which misapprehends that which is mine. This occurs from an initial observation of things which are mine, like my eye, my visual organ eye, my nose, etc. All of these things, and so then when one observes those things which belong to oneself, that are mine, then one thinks my eye, my nose, my ear, etc. And so the sort of initial observation is of the thing which is possessed, but derived from that is the thought, mine. So in both cases, the actual direct or the primary object that is observed is the I or the mine, whereas these other objects are observed initially, and then from the observation of those other objects arises the concept I or the concept mine, derived from the observation of the bases from which that kind of thought arises.
Oh yeah. Oh, miso me ba mai ba chen. Miso la me na ani che dan zhen de ta ge wa de ko, 是吧? Oh, 太阳边那他把了主的处于切，俺他把了主的处于切，落地他把切西出呢，主营养的三个马的，是吧？他把通嘛嘛，老把他把主营没三把人。 你主营养的真实的，俺的主性哪性比主的，主性原来是，你主营养的真实的，俺的主性哪性比主性原来，俺的他把主性哪啥太个难了，俺的也把马多，俺的先都要晒马的，先都头发这样没白，俺的先都头发这样没把给落几档，哪啥太个的原没来把单呢？ 但呢，些年比扩大全包个，若你见呢，俺那单位住的远呢，俺那也得不住他。
So here then, what the previous point was that when the observed object of the misconception, which the wrong view, which misapprehends the perishing collection, is actually the mine as such, not the eye or ear or so forth, the eye, ear, nose, etc., which are the initially observed objects from which that arises. So if it was the actual the things which are possessed as opposed to the simple concept mine, then that view of the wrong view of the perishing collection would a disintegrating collection would be an instance of misapprehension of the self of phenomena as opposed to a misapprehension of the self of persons. So here then an example for this is that when one is at the time when one is in error in thinking that a rope is a snake, that mind which that mind doesn't think that a rope is a snake. Rather, it simply apprehends, it has the idea, this is a snake. it thinks this is a snake. It doesn't think this rope is a snake. So on the locus where it is apprehending that supposed snake in that place, if there was an actual snake which was there where that appearance, the appearance of the snake is occurring, then it would have to be the case that that right in that very place, then
나서 대가를 여봐 마도 현도 도바자야 매바 다 켜주지다.原来나서 대가를 요구를 좋아. 아니 로직체 나서 대가를 유매 내바 때나 아니 때나 아니 가서래 시행해봐 그扩大제법 그 논이 깨내스.
So in the first case, then, since it would have to be the case that the snake is actually in that place where where there's the appearance of the snake, if there was a snake there, that's where it would be. Then there's a cognition or a thought which is determined that. I'm sorry, I'm really tangled up in the syntax here. 나서
대가를 유매 내발 때네 아니 시행년 밖에 아니 로카다 쳐밖에 논이 깨네 아니다 나시테리 아니 가서를 때에 대루디나 아니 다 니르 송와나 공신 사도 송네 타마를 아니 두랑 타쳐바시 이래 마대발에 아니 텔렌 도데 라베 가서 때베가라 아니 대순디가라 라베 야티 미기 마대 채와나 두 대당 디미나 코당 때메도 내네 아니 된지 다들 두세 그때 맹장 잠들이 그래.
Okay, so here then, there's sort of like two alternatives here. One is that one thinks that in that very place, one has determined that. I'm sorry, this language. So there were two alternatives of what we could think in this situation. One would be that we would think that apart from that very location right there where the snake is appearing, that we've determined that the snake is non-existent in. I'm sorry, I'm really. Nangsa deka yupama.
Nangsa deka.
Shendu topa.
Ru nangsa deka, right? Nasi ru nangsa deka yume lebar danas. Taba dunzing lo jesa deka, right? Ru nangsa deka. Oh, taba du tribu ru nangsa deka yume lebar dana. Dana ngay ani yume di shigre nyamba ke khoda chebe lo ni kenes, right?
이닝 로니 여러봐.
로니 여라 지카레레서나 나사 태가 예밤마도 현도 요아 말이냐 바기 타쳐바기 로직체. 그래와 다 나사 태가 유메 레바 때나 아니 시그레 유메 때나 시그레 냐바기 아니 로 타쳐바기 로니 깨네스.
나사 태가 양 유메
아니 담 나시데 때베.
So there's two alternatives that one can have here. That is, in the first case, one knows that when it is determined that if the snake existed, it would have to exist only in that particular location. And one does not have any concern at all about any other kind of location apart from that. And then that's one alternative. And then the other alternative is that one has carefully scrutinized that particular location to see whether or not the snake is actually there, and has actually determined that one knows knows exactly whether or not the snake is in that particular location. So then when you have those two alternative ways of looking at this, and then one of thinking about this, and then by looking at those, looking at it in that way, you would know that if the snake was there, then when one goes close to where the rope is, it would become much clearer naturally as one approaches where the rope is, and finally one would determine definitively whether or not the snake was actually there. There's no other possibility than those two alternatives, and Dele Dokte Tar Lakbegya.
Dele Dokte, Aneta Labeti, Juyeme, Labagiati, Migi Parte, Chevana, Drutedang, Drugi Mina Quanachewa, Demetun Yene, Ani Tedan Ti Kase Minjang, Drudan Ti Minala Soa, Minjang Tam, Ani Luba.
Dele Dokte, Dele Dokte.
타쳐바치래 마대발라 토라 도데 아니 타라바디야 틱팀 가소레 야야마 마대 야마대와나 주당 팀이야 과단체와 때문에도 얘네 다 민jam도 지류 그래서
야디 델레 똑데스나 델레 똑데
마대발라 타쳐바치 요알라 마대발라 아니
So now, if one doesn't do that kind of, doesn't have that kind of determination, whether or not the snake is actually there or not, and then one goes to that place and actually places one's hand up. Where the snake might be on a shelf or whatever, and then look down below to see whether the snake is down underneath that, and once one ascertains definitively that that snake, as well as its eyes, its ears, the rest of it is completely non-existent, then one arrives at the point where the snake. And it exists as nothing but a mere name.
Yes,
no.
Oh yeah. Any 대단히 민감 잠시 류와나 유로 대자만 메시바스 다야게 타자라 두두 체비 타티딘도 루메비 유로 대자만 메시바 삼네 랑글라라 탑두체 츠랍된 투바 용 스타일 레몬드체 대나 타바니 풍보다 충바다 탑이 땡기 루디 같이 다다 충바 아니 루체중소지 차바 마야바 루냠 아니 루로냠도 짐바데 아니 군다 마인방 안진된 안진 한계당 충바.
So thus the snake, the rope here is like the aggregates, is similar to the aggregates. And then the snake, which has been superimposed on the rope, is similar to the self, which is the object of negation. And then without applying any specifications about the snake as to whether or not it's large or small or whatever, the simple apprehension of the snake is similar to this innate or natural form of the misapprehension of the eye.
Oh yeah, 아니 존재 타발라 주드지 존재인데 아니 주드 추어버 아니라 직접 잡아 나신 잡아 직접 잡아 대당 아니 당신이 코에 잡아 잡아니 어디 좀 봐. 그러와 존재의 자원은 도바 준진데 자와는 도바양 시대 다제 전에 아니 타바 준지 로제사 그 시대 주임에 다바 전에 아니 주 매방에 와라 라레바 태당 당진 태양 남바 전에 아니 다음에 주비 리베 다음에 또 코네 아니 도바 쳐봐도 충바.
So here then, then in order to
준진디 지라제바데 당진그 고유 자와 쳐봐도 당송. 당진그 고유 자와 쳐봐도 당송바.
So then, the way in which that misapprehension of the snake produces fear, terror within us, and so forth, is similar to the way in which the misapprehension of the self operates so as to produce the root of samsara, or how the misapprehension of the self functions as the root of samsara. And that, in order to completely eliminate that from the very root, that misapprehension which holds that there's a snake there, one has to, this depends upon one's exhaustive examination of the locus where the snake appears, and determination, ascertainment that the snake is completely non-existent. And that is similar to the way that when we investigate properly that misapprehension of the self, and we understand that there is no self in the way that misapprehension holds it, then it's only through that understanding of the absence of that kind of self that one is able to completely eliminate it. And so it's similar to the way that only through understanding that the snake is non-existent can one eliminate completely the misapprehension that there is a snake. So they're similar in that respect.
Oh yeah. Tena 가서 타바태양 아니 암야 마디나 아셔 얘나 타바태양 야 마디와지이나 라야 아니 타바디 기루 주다 내와다 아니 민바 준세 봐봐라 서 그때에서나 아야 타바 준지기로 시대를 맞아 준지기 알기 타바 준지기로 맞아 깨와나신 와 대배라 거네 풍부된지 말로나 풍부된 바집에 된지 말로나 아니 가사 그 다음에 또장 양양 아니 가사 그 단지 깨외 어제와 이장 아니 루디 최지단증 대신 공도 셔봐 나신 최지단증기 가사 그 단증 시쳐봐요 댄쳐봐.
So thus, that being the case, if one doesn't gather up that rope, then again, because of the way that it's coiled up in the corner there, just like looking like a snake in that way and sitting there in the corner of your room, then when there's darkness falls and all of the different factors of that dependent origination come together again, then then one can again give rise to a fear that that misapprehension that is a snake in that particular, that thing, the coiled up rope, is a snake. And similar to that, until one gets rid of the misapprehension of the aggregates as being real, then even if one has understood the lack of a self of a person's, then again and again, because this it will give rise to the misapprehension of the self of persons that holds the self of the persons to be real. Therefore, in this system, then the misapprehension of the self of phenomena functions as the basis or foundation of the misapprehension of the self of persons.
Oh yeah, that the 최지단증 코비 자와 둘로 텐데레 스타텐다시 최지단증 시전에 간사가 단지 겨와인사 대다 타바 두도 나양 안에 타바 두지 따와 두도 따와데 안에 삼바담래 두지 동빈용와 양양 되나 아니 가짜 된루디 리베 레바 따네 매번 내비 제수야 가짜지 메사를 아니 가짜 나 내가 나 용데 나래지 나와들라 예빙와 매바 안에 타발라 두주 사담네 디단 자 안데네 메타주 인레 인데 난게 두고 냠도 양양삼네 레 타보와라 안에 펜도 연구래.
So, thus, here then this also indicates that this is how the misapprehension of the self of phenomena also acts as the root of, serves as the a root of samsara within this system as well. So, thus, with respect to that appearance of the snake, which is actually a rope, here it's merely through thought applying the notion of a snake to the rope by designating that coiled up rope as a snake, or thinking that that's a snake. Then that it appears as a snake. From that, drugi tombe nyong yang tuna. Drugi tom kasa tokpe duru takpate sampat sam.
Tobi tuna ya.
Drugi tombe nyong yang tumpa na. Tuna.
What is it? That's it.
Tokpe drudu takpa te sampat samle drugi tompe nyong yang tumpa na.
아니, 대다 주나야 또배 주도 따와대 삼바점레스. 들베.
그래.
와, 대다 주도 나야 또배 주도 따와대 삼바점레 주지 동바. 주지 동바 따와대 삼바만도 주지 동바라 양양양한테. 주도 나와 잠마도 주지 동바. 나 양양양한테. 같이 된주 태야 리베 레바 따나 매버네 위지. 제수 가자데 메사 대가랑 아니야 가자는 그랬어. 나 용데 아니 나 용데 나르지 나와들라 예병이와 매봐. 된주도 나야 아니 된주도 예병이와 매봐.
So thus tope judo tapate sampat samle drugi
tobe judo tawate tobe tawate sambatam tobe jure sambatam. 是吧?
drugi tombe nyoma
다바 세데 삼바점. tobe judo sambatam.
drugi tombe nyoma 양양 tumpa na.
tobe judo tawate sambatamle drugi nyoma 양양 때 drugi tomba 양양 때. 너희 주제 삼가 주 마인바 주지 동바 양양양하죠.
주 마인바.
주지 동바.
주기 동바.
덴베 동바 세나 시간이. 주지 동바. 가을 돼서 영화도 양양 삼삼로 동안 쓰기로 와. 영화 쓰게 된 바가 임바. 양양 삼니 아니 삼로 다는 영화 통고리 영화요. 이베.
topi judo tapate sampat samle le.
topi judo 따와때 삼바 삼레서 코니 담가 전시 틀이 담가. 아니가 가르치는 초고래. 담가 잡네. 다 삼바 삼레 삼바점人마디 주의와 뭐를 주지 동바라 아니 영화 동고 그래서 영화 양양 때.
So when we think over and over again how it is that the snake is merely designated by the force of thought. That is, the snake, we only produce this notion of the snake through the force of thought. It's not in the rope, it's not coming from the rope side. Rather, it's something that one superimposes upon the coiled up rope. So when we give rise over and over again to the experience that that rope is empty of being a snake, then when one has it is similar here than in the case of the object of negation, which is that things are established as being real. When one properly investigates through reasoning and determines that, gains an actual ascertainment that that object of negation, things being established as real, is actually non-existent, then following after that, nevertheless, even though once one has gained that ascertainment that the object of negation, that is, things being established as real, is in fact non-existent, then nevertheless, that object of negation will continue to appear right in that place where it doesn't exist. That will occur. And there's no definite sequence here as far as to how it is that will appear. That is, at times when one has done the proper analysis and has regenerated one's understanding of the absence of things being real, then one will observe that absence of the snake, or rather the object of negation, is not, it appears as if it was real, but you'll have ascertained that it's not real. At other times, when one hasn't done that kind of analysis, then the thing will appear as real, and one will simply hold it naively as it appears.
Dendru ane riba yanda ka kaane meba ngewi jesu yang gacha de mesa tela yang gacha de nang gres rwa phumbo ta dendru yo mare de dendru nang yo rwa gacha de mesa yang tekar na yo de nare ji ane dendru de na wa tela yebing yo me tabi du sa tamne de dan dra taba du na yang taba mewa na xin che kana na gacha dendru na yang ane na yang yobake ngwa mebati taba du bi de dan dra ba tene me ta chu yin sam tene me ta chu yin de nang ge du bam nyam du yang yang sam na ane le tambo wala pendo chi pento wa rishik chetalam ane sungdo ki nyen chenpo mi go yong dendru gres
So yes, so just like with the snake that we superimpose onto the rope, or that we imagine the rope to be, here then, as long as the conditions are present for that erroneous appearance and our misapprehension of the coiled up rope as a snake are present, then that will continue. If the conditions are right, then we'll continue to think we'll think there's a snake there when in fact it's only a coiled rope. And just like that, with respect to things appearing as if they were real, existing by means of their own intrinsic nature and so forth, even though once one has initially ascertained that they don't exist as they appear, as long as the conditions are properly met, all of the conditions are present, one will continue after that initial ascertainment of the fact that things are not real, they'll continue to appear as if they were real. Here, this is in reference to the aggregates and so forth. They'll continue to appear as if they were real. And if one doesn't examine them and refresh one's understanding that they're not real, that one will continue to apprehend them as if they were real as well. So understanding this, the way this operates, such that there's no definite sequence in terms of the way these appearances will arise for us, then just in the way that when one sees the sees the rope as the snake, and when it appears, if one doesn't carefully think about it and find out, refresh one's memory that it's not real, then one's liable to misapprehend it as being an actual snake. So similar to that, when one then if one thinks here over and over again, one ought to think that although I have determined that this is completely non-existent, that something existing as it appears as real is completely non-existent, it still appears that way. And so we have to think like that over and over again, and that sort of method is extremely beneficial to beginners.
Oh yeah, that 先生，我的想象的，这多别忘记下水为团，多别忘记写上就这当着我根据连带的对面个我的吃的弄差我查啥的就么个，这多别忘记下水为团的，让给大家的多大怎么都可以去个嘛，可以啊，那可以去个嘛的是，多别大怎么了，多别忘记下边吃个嘛的，是吧？这是我的，这多别忘记下水为团啊，让给大家的多大怎么都可以没事是，没事，可没事，去那么让给多把可能忘记下边的。아니 도배 왕기 샤바를 여바담도 고와 여바를 천와랑 그 도배 권이 왕기 샤바도 여바담도 고고에 대해서 도배 왕기 샤바를 여바담도 고고에지 동바랑에와 유점 마좀 봐도 천와랑신지 동바랑에와 유점 마좀지 봐도 아니 치담 시장 아니 가서래 된줄라 된지지 루소신 마도 동이 마 동바 마고 이 마좀 봐도 아니 과산 매배 아니 시아바 오만은 내도 저기 천재점도 나대 지중도 지금 대대한 꼭 가보셔도야 천재점도 배나 분바 유명이 분바 5년비 또바 유명지 권에 체나 체체나 분바 유명데 분바 5년비 또바 유명지 권에 체체나 제마타 아니 밑동된 기산발라 분바 유명데 가와 유명 권에 체세와다 권에 분바도 가서를 분바 5년비 또바 유명 권에 체체나 제마타 아니 밑동된 기 분바 삼발라 분바 유명데 가와 유명 권에 체세와다 권에 원나 분바 유명배 지용량보다 가와서 분바 매살량 분바 5년비 또바 끼그레스 분바 체면 마소비 차조라야 분바 매비 사조라야 안에 품지 또바 끼기 두배 이양바 안에 남주전 셰럽전 된들 용 그레스
So here then, with regard to the statement that things are established by the force of thought, the meaning of that is as follows. Here, one can't understand this in the sense of that that one cannot understand this in the sense that which merely holds it to be that the particular objects of negation are merely designated by thought. That sort of understanding is not adequate, is a misunderstanding of the range of what is meant by things being established by the force of thought. Here, what it means is that one instead has to understand this such that with respect to all phenomena, that all things are established, that is, they exist merely by the force of the specific thought of them, of the particular things. And until one has given rise to some degree of certainty with respect, some degree of ascertainment with respect to emptiness, as long as one has not yet given rise to some kind of ascertainment of emptiness, as much as one explains this, there's no way to understand it other than the system which which is able to properly evaluate what it means for things to be established as real within the context of dependent origination. Dendrupla dendel tsiwe luxul, dendrupla dendel tsiwe luxul.
Dendrupla karse.
Dendrupla dendel tsiwe luxul, shikmato gosame.
아니 렌드블라 땡데지 루소 심마도 덴바 추발라 땡 동바기 고아메 와라 이점 마좀 바라 시점 세장 아니 덴바 추발라 아니 귀단 귀견레 기비 땡데지 루기 아니 루소 심마도 고사메 메데 샤바남 오만남 내도 주비 천제도 쓴 거다
덴두블라 덴델 지웨 룩
땡데지 루스나 덴바 추발라 귀단 대비 남샤 가서 태박이 댄지 질루스 데스기로와
Denbar dubala.
데마 투발라 댄지 그 고함 데미 그 고함 많이 봐라
Dende.
천나랑 디 데스기로 동발랑에와 유자 마총 봐도 치점下降 아니 덴줄라 댄지 주비 루서시 마도 과찬매 다디 유샤나 저서데
So here it's saying that there's this system is explaining dependent origination within the context of as if things were established as real. Here it takes as sort of its point of departure ordinary beings who apprehend things as if they were real, and then employs dependent origination in order to explain eventually how that is not the case. So it starts off with the presupposition that things are real, but then it gradually leads in the direction. So without having that system which does that, which is able to explain dependent origination within a sort of presupposition that things are real, then the explanations that follow, what is going to follow in the text, is given as just a mere indication of the way in which these things go to the essential point here. So, for example, if you hear the thought, which is that as far as the existence or non-existence of a pot is concerned, the differentiation of something existing or not existing, that is the pot, has to be done on the basis of a thought which thinks there is a pot. The simple thought, there is a pot, is the point of departure for ascertaining, or that there is such a thing as a pot, is the point of departure for ascertaining whether or not a pot actually exists in a particular location or in. So then, once one has determined that there is a pot, then someone who mitoktengi sampar pumpa yeme kawa yeme konich
동바던 덴바 남제도 덴바
namchidan demba. So someone who is intelligent within their way of thinking, thought about this. Oh, the existence of a pot, the existence or non-existence of a pot, is determined simply by whether or not a pillar exists. And then out of that, then they say, well, what comes out of there being a pot being existent? And then from that, 가와속 봄바 메사리양 봄바
가와서 봄바 메사양 봄바 원년부 또바 찌그레서 봄바 참여 마음이 부사줘라양 아니 봄바 원년부 또바 찌기도 바냐바 남지잖아요 그래서
가와속
봄바 메비사.
So then someone with that sort of discriminating way of thinking about it could then come to the idea that, well, at a place where there's a pillar and so forth, there's no pot, and they might come to give rise to the thought that there is a pot in that location.
근데 당보대 봄바 또바 따섬도 망해봐 인장 아니 봄바세 퇴와다 냠도 아니 또바데 아니 봄바디 셴라라 마나비 다다기 같이 봄바치 로라샤비 따레스
당분이
봄바 또바 따섬도 망해봐 인장 봄바세 퇴와다 냠도 아니 또바 또바 딜라라 말레 또반 딜라 라마라비 타다지 나미지 같이 품바 라마레비 같이 품바지 로라샤베 따레스.
So with respect to this first case then, that's such a person has not ascertained that the pot is merely established, merely a conceptually designated thing. And because of that lack of ascertaining that, as soon as they hear the word pot, and when they hear it and they think of that, then they think what appears for them is within their minds is the pot, which is the object of negation, which we've been subject to beginninglessly. That is the pot, as if it didn't depend upon this thought, which thinks pot.
我第一분바 예배 시용 양바지 담보 티세. 되네. 아니 대마시 대샤마 타네. 로라 같이 분바데 로라 샤마 타네. 가와 예매다 군주 쳐바니 또다지 또다담지 타다담 만자와 또배 다담지 타다담 민자와 같이 분바디 예나 아니 분바란진 또배 분바란진 비 또바당 랑기다 시당 타대비 추당 가와다부 제메 현당 타대도 수유 추니 충거와 하고说是吧 샤마탄에 가와 예매다 군주 쳐비 또바 지금 군주 쳐바니 산에 가와서 메사양 본바원이 또바 찍긴도 냠바데라 대미 샤마탄에 가와도 예매다 군주 쳐바니 또다 잠기 타대도 또바 따와 잠기 타다다 민자와 같이 본바디 예나 본바디 랑 준비 또바당 랑게 다시당 안에 타대비 추당 가와다부 제메 현당 타대도 소미 송주니 충거바당 하고서 충거바당 안 또다지 땡데다 라신지 추바니 간다 임바소 아니 간다 임바소 루디 까네남 아니 까네남지 템바 나네 템바레스 오다디 tutte 야 고디 준다 대샤마 타바네스 대주마소 대대 단다디 품바세와 태와다 냠도 또벤 딜라 라마라비 타다나미기 같이 품바디 현라 라마베 같이 품바디 현라 라마데 같이 품바디 로라 샤베 다레스체 와 다 델로라 샤마 타바네 가와 예매당 군주 쳐바세 가바서 품바 메사양 품바님이 또바 끼기도 와세데 예매당 군주 쳐바데 또다담지 타다담 민자 또바 따와담지 타다담 맞아봐 와 또바 따와담 타자 같이 품바디 예나 품바랑진 또바당 품바랑집이 또바당 아니 품바랑게 다시당 안에 타대 임비초 안티바 주다
가서
다원이 가래 대바 주사를 와 같이 분바대 로라 샤베 다래 대바 친자를 와
是
가래도 다원
die Schamata kawa yemetan 고충 제번이 로타 참기 타레 담민라와
가와 예매다 군주 쳐바니 또다담지 타다담에 또바 따와담지 타다담 민자와세
또 베딱 참기 타레 담민라와
또바 따와담지 타다담 민자와 따와담지 타다담 민자와 같이 분바디 유나 같이 분바 현라 라마레비 분바디 유나 분바랑 준비 또바당 랑기 다시다 타대 임비 추대다
타레베 데
타대비 추당 아니 가와다부 제메 현당 아니 분바데 가와다부 제메 현당 타대도 소미 추니 아니 충고바데 상당 거래서
진짜 그냥 가와당 bomba니까
가와다부 제메 현당 분바당 가와니오데 제메라와 뭐 가와다부 제메 현당 타대도 소미 송주니 충고와 같이 분바되네 란전 또바당 아또 랑즈비 또바당 다시다 타대비 추당 저 다시 가와다부 제메 현당 타대로 소미 손이 충고 와서 가와당 제메니 가와당 분바다부 제메 현 가서 제메 현당 타대로 손주 지당 저러와 송 제메르와 코니 저와메 바라 타대 송어와 대나시전이 같이 분바디에나 분바대다 랑 진비 또바당 다시 타대바니 오디 아니 제메 대셔레서 제메 대셔에 봐 제메 대셔가 타대에 봐 충바레스 거래다 된다 좋대
같이 bomba대요.
같이
같이
분바이
랑 진비 또바당. 랑기 딱시당
같이 분바대에나 분바랑진 또바당 랑 분비 다시당 타대바데 제메 대셔가 아니 타대지레스 가와다부 제메 현다 타대도 손주다 측직벌에서 그렇다 된다 좋대
So the upshot of this is that if that that pot, which is the object of negation here, that is the pot existing as real, actually existed, then the thought which apprehends that pot itself, as well as the basis of the designation of that pot, would be completely distinct. They would be distinct in the same way that a pot and a pillar are completely unrelated things that are completely different from one another. And those two would be equivalent. That is, the unrelatedness of a pot and a pillar would be, or the unrelatedness of the thought which apprehends a pot, as well as the basis of designation of the pot. Those two would be totally unrelated in exactly the same way that a pot and a pillar, two completely unrelated things, are unrelated. And if that's the case, then so that would necessarily be the case. Then doktak samgi dendadang rangshigi dupani gelda yimpa sok. Lukchokti karin namgi dempa nangne.
타대비 추당 가와단 제메 현당 타대도 소유 송주니 오데 아니 충바레스
Zungpares.
충고와
Hari
당스
zungpares. Dire. Dines.
그래서 다른 또다점지 땡제다 라신지 추와니 간다 임바 아니 루디 간에 남지 아니 땜바 나네 땜바레스
So then, thus the dependent origination of things being merely conceptually designated, and them being and that on the one hand, and things being established by means of their own intrinsic nature on the other hand, that those two are contraries. And there are other contraries as well that are necessary implications of what was stated above. Then these are the are taught are the among the things which are the actual real things which are the most difficult points within this supreme system. They're taught as being true things which are among the most difficult points within this system.
때는 따바 망에 배서 가나 아니 가서는 따바 따자 망에 배 분바 오년비 아니 로 인제라 아니 분바 조직이 로 인제라 아니 분바 오년비 로 인제라 아니 분바 조직이 로 거야 마주와레스 라 마주와레스 디갑지 따바 될라 가래서 분바 조직을 또 디샤순 발라서 분비 땡제 초사를 아니 까장 아니 메두바 마조선라 분바 조직을 때네 미지비 미루 도발에 시그레스 도바 분바원님 도바 담라 지금 말레스 that is one
니빠
분진 도바 담라 지금 말레스
라 분진 도바
이완이 때네 도바 망이베스 분바원님 도바 인제라 이나 아니 분바 조직이 도바 인제 분바 조직이 도바 인바 코야 마슈와레 품진 도바 품바집이 도바 땅라 품바 조제가 도바 인바 코야 마숑바레스 오늘 디 안에 품바 조제가 도바들 간지 고아레스는 디 갑지 도바니 또디 샤숨 취저와라서 핀지 땡지 소사를 아니 도바데 가장 감미도바 품바 품바 조제가 어디 깨와 또디 샤숨바라서 품바 니 가서 샤숨바라 품베 땡지 맞춰서라 때는 미지비 아니 밀루이 도바지라 참말을 지그래.
So then, as far as the second form of thought, which is ascertaining just the pot, simply the pot as such, then with regard to someone who is not yet ascertained that it is dependently designated, then as soon as they have the thought which thinks there is a pot.
품진 도바 깨와라 콜라 규제망보지 품바 조직이 도바데 깨와라 아니 품비 규제망보지 상고가로 왔대 디월을 손해야 되는 봐. 但是大把忙一把，碰把我你比大把人在啦，是碰准大把人在啦，可也没凶我人是。但我们第一个就大把的看这种人是呢，碰把做这个大把的啦，啊你看这就各个人是呢，都是小心把了，所以碰比单的操杀人，啊你碰把做这些落的刚没都把落结完了，但这马做上了，但呢没就为没路大把怎么起来吃个人是。
So here then the second case here is differentiating two ways of someone conceiving of the way in which a pot exists. In the second of these, for someone who has not ascertained that the pot is dependently designated, then as soon as they give rise to the thought which thinks this is a pot, they don't have that understanding that it is dependently designated. And here then, with respect to the thought which is under discussion within this context, here it's that sort of thought is not something that is able to negate the dependent origination of the pot, which is the combination of all of the factors that make up the thing which is designated as a pot, that it is bulbous, has a flat bottom, and so forth. Those factors of the basis of designation of the pot. So that sort of thought is not able to negate that dependent origination within the place where all of those factors have been combined together so as to form the basis for the appropriate conventional designation of the thing as a pot. And since it's the case that that sort of appearance, that sort of thought that this is a pot, never arises at any time whatsoever where those conditions have not been brought together, the complex of factors that gives rise to which is the basis of designation of the pot. Then that sort of thought, which is incontrovertible, is here categorized as valid cognition. That is, that sort of thought which simply thinks this is a pot as such, without elaborating it with the notion of adding to it the notion of intrinsic existence or whatnot, is valid cognition. It's a thought which is incontrovertible.
Oh yeah, that day. Oh, 참말을 채워대. 아니 다 또봐 예매 권의 왕게 있어요. 최남 조제대 랑 조제 그 또봐 참아 예매 왕게 샤야. 또봐 예매 권의 왕게 부마 예매 그 남바 조진 최현당 대단 총바대. 아니 다 시작을 가서 또봐 예배 되잖아. 또봐 매바 되잖아. 소라서 연이 예매나 양다 된다 된바도 로된데 손시 진제 되기 아니 다와잡이 시작이 되게 가서 또바 예배 또바 매바 되잖아. 소라 연이 예매니 있으니까 또바 예바랑 조지지 또바 예바 코네 아니 되잖아. 서바 예바 니당 ran doji ji toba mebe toba meba yobani meba hoyi doji ji toba meba yobani meba dutani belladini korma jaba tabala tudo tawi tuda rangi majuba ngeso ta tondadi dile gore.
So here then, so that kind of the two forms of thought, the thought that holds that the pot is intrinsically existent, is necessarily erroneous, and then here the thought, second thought, which is the thought which thinks that the pot simply is, without attributing intrinsic existence to it, being valid cognition, valid form of cognition, then that it's only then through the force of this thought, that is the valid cognition that thinks that the pot simply is, without elaborating it as intrinsic existence or not. So it's only la tokpa di yume kone wangi.
Toba yoba ran joje ji toba chama yoba kone yoba tang. Ran jeje ji toba chama meba anya yoba. Toba meba yoba ni mayimba serkan yoba ni mayimba tedani korma jaba tabala dudu tawa taras. Rango ngwe matuba ngeso.
So therefore, it's only through the force of whether or not this kind of thought is present or not that one is able to establish, posit whether or not a pot exists or not, and that is similar with respect to all other phenomena as well. And it's only that's the way it works, that all phenomena are established through the force of their being appearing and being determined to exist in the way they appear to valid thought, which is a valid cognition, which simply establishes them as existing based upon the combination of the dependent origination of the basis of designation upon which they're designated. So that's explained in the 400 verses of Aryadeva, where he says that without thought, there's no desire, etc. And since they don't exist without thought, they don't exist. The desire, etc., don't exist. So with respect to that being the case, then who has got a mind would hold that there's a real thing, a real object, and real thought. So it says, that's what the root text says. And then the commentary on this also says, it's only when thought exists that one determines that something exists. And without the existence of thought, there is no determination of the existence of something. And so without a doubt, this is just like the way in which a snake is designated upon a coiled up piece of rope, and one can definitely ascertain that things don't exist by means of their own character, by means of their own intrinsic nature.
Oh yeah, that don't know. Rangar chat dewa chena sata kasan kaja tela yage ani jenla ram male patang ani tatun zayu sana ani me ye ba cheni shugen pe o di yin da dana dona kang rangar chat dewa chena da chu kan la yan da phumbo la so ba chu kan la yan ani kangsa dan phumbo hiesa ani dashi sasadi yudine nyebati zawi kana yudine nyebati ani o zawi kana yudine nyebati ludi gribe kachare kansaji kandu dashi ti tindu dane ani dashi ti tindu nyebati ludi gribe kachatadure.
So in brief, then, in a way which, if one does this in a way which makes it easier for it to arise for us, to ordinary people, then whatever phenomenon one is speaking about, whether it is the person, the I, or one is talking about the phenomena of the aggregates, which are the basis of designation of the I or the person or self, then when one when one investigates, very carefully the place, the locus upon which one says this and that, the place where, locus where one identifies something as something. When one looks for the I, when one looks for the aggregates, which are the basis of designation of it, and if one was to actually find that thing within that object that one is investigating, that is the basis of designation of the thing which is identified, or to find the thing itself when one is searching for it, having some kind of autonomous or form of existence that does not depend upon things that are extrinsic to itself, things that are outside of itself, then that finding of it is actually the ultimate object of negation of reasoning.
Ore, tatini dashi tene nyebade mejang. Rangi ani kansala sowa dashi chobala tene tobe chadu ani kansa she ani par taba zamju. Ani 어차피 취니스 여바진자 파다바 담지 최탐제 여도 다시 폼비든도 안에 낭점들라 안에 대단 대시 따와 안에 다바 담도 안에 최탐제 대단 대 요아래
So although it's the case that object of negation there is completely non-existent, nevertheless, in dependence upon their individual bases of designation, the collection of the things which together forms the basis of designation of a thing, dependent upon that and through thought, then adventitiously thought designates upon that basis of designation things as being this or that. So the basis of designation is a collection of the components or parts as a whole, which is a suitable basis for designating something as this or that. And then upon that, thought projects onto it and applies to it the identity or the designation of whatever name we use for it, calling it this or that. And so that mere existence of things as being designated upon their basis of designation applies to all phenomena.
Oh yeah, that gaja rangsenji tanyata yu ta de zawa chen ye bam rangsenji chuba gaja rangsenji chuba dini ani da dinjing gi mi de so kan yin gui shi ba teni sanje ji wi lam la shu so ya gi dinjing ji mi de so xie ja ba de tre sta wa yin za de xie ja wa yin de riba chu ju wa le kan ya ru mi ne na a se ne shi kan ya ru wa shi ani de ba tum ba si dinjing na dinjing je na 인제 단내냐 뉴몬두두 요전지 안에 텔레테네 두숨지에 뉴몬두두 요전지 심바주루 심바주루 관계세 된증 미대 매바 매나 안에 뉴몬비 대다 안에 심바 민주와 yeah.
So here then, this object of negation, again, to reiterate it, it's when one investigates something that has been designated with a convention, name or a thought. We designate things with the mental or verbal conventions. And if this object of negation actually existed, then that designation or the convention that we use to designate something would be findable within its basis of designation. It would exist within that basis of designation if it possessed intrinsic identity. So that object of negation is also called the focal point, which is the observed object of the misapprehension of things as real. And this is explained in the 60 verses on reasoning as well. So here it says that if one finds something, if it finds a place, some kind of suitable place to dwell, then the deceitful, poisonous snake of the mental afflictions will take hold of one, will bite one. But for someone whose mind doesn't have any kind of basis, any kind of abode for that, then it can't. Such persons can't be bitten by such a poisonous snake.
Oh yeah, chena tobe wang ge jozu ma xian na, ani lu de dong ye pa xiao, ti do zhuo ji ga jia chawa yang ma liu ba ngui mi xin bei na, da tobe wang ge jozu ji ma xian na, ani ga jia chama ngui xin ge ma re, wo de mi xin ba de, ani da guang ba de san na la, lu de la chena tobe wang ge xia ba zhen ji jozu ma xian na, te lian do de zhen bi den zhen, jozu xian na. Tela do de zimbi benzin de la do xiewa juwe zungari rwa idan deni da qianam ji dobe wa do jo zu xiena tela do de zimbi ani benzin de la do xiewa juguris.
So that being the case, then if one doesn't understand properly the way in which all phenomena are posited or determined by the force of thought, then one forget about the emptiness that is explained within this system. One also won't be able to have any kind of identification in its entirety or in its subtle forms, the object of negation, which are the opposite of that emptiness. So this is explained also by the Victor the Great Tsongkhapa, where he says that here, he's explaining it in the positive sense that if one understands the way in which things are merely established through the force of thought, all phenomena are established through the force of thought in this tradition, then one will easily be able to understand the way in which the opposite of that, what the opposite of that is, the contrary of that, which is the misapprehension, which apprehends things as being real.
Oh yeah, that dila to be chaju dila that do soon cha. Nimbo dina rara namji didar da do samba cha des. Talam chi jian ge yu xin ye dang. 那个就谈就不是所谓，谈就准备推上，推上没单做本地啦，是没多让先的推着，那么多就把茶叶先这样没多拿是啊，我他把就把来先，他把就把来茶把先这样没多拿是啊。
La di kasa di la ni chunam tope wangi jo.
Chuna tope wangi jo de tela to de tsubi den zita ba ni che. Ra ta ti ma xie sung ta nyimbo jina ra re di da ta tu sambar cha de.
So okay, then if we combine this into its essence, then we should think about this sort of thing at all times in this way. Right now, we have the external conditions for this path, that is a virtuous friend. We have the internal conditions, which are the combination of all of the factors which give rise to this moment of opportunity or late leisure and fortune. And we've achieved a human body, human life right now. So this is a good, right now we have this good opportunity. And then if we don't use this opportunity right now to quickly be able to achieve the liberation, the supreme form of liberation, which is the ultimate objective of both ourselves and others, then we should. It's something that we should do with all means that are accessible to us at the time right now.
Oh yeah, 제가 나질라 소와키 제가 나질라 소비 녀제 삼제 녀제 삼네스 아니 대남 가라 주주 차소 님모 벌레 중심 님모 대다기 자와양 아니 라주지 와다 아이와 라신지 추바집이 지다딜라 마데베스 된 나기 로진 가르레스나 아니 당시 말을 받아 뒤에 그냥 왜 차소 대다 세와데 아니 치 쳔마던 바다는 마인바 아니 롱안 대다기 진주 로바기 그 진주대 간 치지로데 아니 치지로데 진주 치지로바기 아니 상한데 봐 르바 차네 아니 그 된단 그 유지 시제 봐 코나 아니 된지도 봉고 그래스
So that being the case, then that we should use every means at our disposal to make use of the opportunity that we've achieved right now so as to achieve liberation. And so the way in which we do that is by thinking about the way in the faults and defects of birth, aging, sickness, and death, thinking about those, and thinking about how it is that all of these arise from from the mental afflictions of attachment and so forth, and that likewise the root of all of these mental afflictions is the wrong view of the disintegrating collection, which misapprehends I and mine, whether we're talking about it within ourselves or with others as well, but particularly within ourselves, the I and mine, which holds the misapprehension, which holds those as being established by means of their own intrinsic nature. All of that arises because we haven't gone beyond this misapprehension of the self and the I and mine, or the wrong view of the disintegrating collection. And then the way in which the way in which we can eliminate these internal defects of our minds is not the way in which one takes out a thorn from one's foot or something like that, pulls a thorn out, which is an external thing. Rather, it has to do with first of all, we have to recognize the errors which exist within our minds, the way in which our minds have become deteriorated or bad by means of this misapprehension of things, and understand that. And then it's only through eliminating this misapprehension of the self that we'll be able to get rid of all of these things that are undesirable.
Yeah,